Hey buddy, sit back and relax, because the story I'm about to tell you is much darker, much more real, and incredibly more thrilling than those sparkly pirates in the movies. What comes to mind when you think of Pirates of the Caribbean? Johnny Depp's swaggering walk, guys yelling, "Arrr," treasure maps, parrots, wooden legs, eye patches, treasure hunts. It's all fun but mostly made up. The real story takes place in the 17th and 18th century Caribbean, the story of men, and a few women, caught between gold, silver, blood, betrayal, dreams of freedom, and the gallows. Just imagine, man, 100 men on a ship, sleeping in cramped hammocks, eating the same food for weeks. A Spanish warship could appear in front of them at any moment. How did these guys survive? How did they become legendary? Come on, let me tell you from start to finish, like we're sitting at a bar table at midnight. It all starts in 1492. Christopher Columbus discovers America, not a discovery for the natives, of course, but an invasion. Spain immediately rolls up its sleeves. Hernán Cortés massacres the Aztecs, Francisco Pizarro the Incas. Tons of silver from the Potosí mines, gold from Mexico flowing to Europe. Every year, huge fleets called the Treasure Fleet depart from Havana, gathering cargo from Cuba, Mexico, crossing the Atlantic and returning to Seville. A single ship's cargo could amount to $100 to $200 million in today's money. Gold ingots, chests full of silver coins, emeralds, pearl necklaces, tobacco bales, sugar sacks. The other kingdoms of Europe watch this with envy. France, England, Holland say, why shouldn't we get a piece of this pie too? But open war with Spain is expensive and risky, so they find a smarter way: privateering. That is, state-sponsored piracy. The king gives you an official letter of marque saying, go rob Spanish ships, give me part of what you take, the rest is yours. These guys are declared heroes, even knighted. Like the Englishman Francis Drake. In 1572 he robs a Spanish silver caravan in Panama, travels around the world from 1577 to 1580, burns Spanish ports in the Pacific, gets knighted by Queen Elizabeth. The Spanish call him El Drac, the Dragon. The Frenchman Jean Fleury steals Montezuma's treasure in 1523, gets hanged in 1527 but becomes legendary. François Leclerc, Jam de Bois, wooden leg, burns Havana. Jacques de Sores plunders Santiago de Cuba. But what's the problem with these privateers? They have no permanent bases. They have to raid and return to Europe. Spain doesn't sit idle either. They add heavily armed warships, galleons, to the treasure fleets, establish a convoy system. Piracy becomes harder. We're coming to the 1600s. Spain still controls most of the Caribbean, but gaps are slowly forming. French, English, Dutch settlers start settling on small islands. Street kits in 1624, Barbados, Nevis. In Hispaniola, French hunters chase wild cattle and pigs. They smoke the meat on smoky grills called boucan. The Spanish call them bucaniers, smokers. Then it passes into English as buccaneer. At first just hunters, they seem harmless. But Spanish governors say, these guys create competition, raid the settlements, burn them, kill them. The hunters flee too, taking refuge on the nearby small island of Tortuga. Tortuga becomes the Caribbean's first real pirate haven. Small, easy to defend, good harbor. By the 1630s hunting isn't enough anymore. The guys say, since the Spanish don't want us, we'll take their ships and turn to full piracy. In 1640 French engineer Jean Levasseur builds a fort overlooking the harbor, Fort de Rocher. He places cannons, creates a safe harbor. Pirates take refuge here, give a small portion of the loot to the fort owner. Now they call themselves the Brethren of the Coast. Before each raid they democratically elect a captain. They write rules called articles, incredibly democratic rules. The captain can be removed from duty if unwanted. Loot is shared according to the flying gang emerges. Benjamin Hornigold, Henry Jennings, Charles Vane, Calico Jack Rackham, Stede Bonnet, Sam Bellamy, Blackbeard, Edward Teach, and Bonny Mary Read. Blackbeard is the scariest. He attaches fuses to his beard, lights them before battle, walks onto the ship with smoke billowing, looks like the devil. With Queen Anne's Revenge, former French slave ship La Concorde, he blockades Charleston, threatens the city for syphilis medicine. In 1718 at Ocracoke Island he clashes with Lieutenant Robert Maynard, takes 5 bullets, 20 sword blows, still standing. Finally his head is cut off, hung on the bowsprit, his body thrown into the sea. According to legend the body swam 3 laps around the ship, of course made up, but he was so terrifying people wanted to believe it. Charles Vane is a complete psychopath. When Woodes Rogers comes to Nassau he escapes with a burning ship, then even abandons his own crew, continues with a small sloop. On Calico Jack Rackham's ship are Bonny and Mary Read. Both fight disguised as men. And Bonny is Irish, daughter of a rich father, marries James Bonny but gets bored, runs away with Jack. Mary Read is raised as a boy in England for inheritance, joins the army, fights in battles, then becomes a pirate. In the last battle, 1720, off Jamaica, only they resist. Jack is hanged, and says her last words, if you'd fought like a man, you wouldn't hang like a dog. Mary dies in prison, and disappears. Maybe her father bribed, maybe she escaped to America, still a mystery. Bartholomew Bartholomew Roberts, Blackbeard, is history's most successful, captures 400 ships. Welsh, drinks tea, didn't drink rum, wears a red vest, black trousers, feathered hat. His rules are strict, music mandatory on Sundays, lights out early. In 1722 off Gabon he clashes with HMS Swallow, gets shot in the throat, the crew throws his body into the sea so he won't be hanged on the gallows. 52 of his men are hanged at Cape Coast Castle. After the 1720s everything ends. Over 500 pirates are hanged. Nassau is cleaned up, no safe harbors left, the navy strengthens, the economy changes, plantations, slave trade, regular salaried seafaring come to the fore. Piracy ends in the Caribbean but the legacy remains. Real pirates experimented with democracy, voting rights, equal shares, no racial discrimination. They still live today in movies, games, tattoos because the dream of freedom sells. In reality it was a short, savage, bloody life but the merry and short motto still rings in our ears. Now let's dive a bit deeper because this story isn't just about big names. What was daily life like? What did they eat on the ship? What did they drink? How did they have fun? Think of a pirate sloop, 80 to 100 men, 60 to 100 feet long, 10 to 20 cannons. Hammocks hung between cannon barrels. Morning wake up, the watchman makes coffee, if available, or grog. Breakfast, wormy hardtack, you bang it on the table to shake out the bugs, salted pork, pea soup, worms swimming in it. Lunch, same things. Evening grog time, rum mixed with water, lemon juice added so you don't get scurvy, gums bleed, teeth fall out. They drink grog in leather cups called blackjacks. Entertainment, music, if they have a violin, accordion, flute they play. Songs, dirty versions of popular ballads of the time. Gambling forbidden but they play secretly, dice hidden in boots. Do fights break out? Of course they do. Knives are drawn, the captain intervenes, the articles kick in. Theft, whipping or death. Injury, the surgeon, usually a butcher, cuts off arms and legs with a saw, closes the veins with hot tar. The loser gets an extra share, like a pension. Race issue, incredibly progressive for the time. Black pirates can be not just crew, but gunner, quartermaster, captain. Sam Bellamy's ship Whydah has dozens of Africans. It sinks in a storm in 1717. The wreck is found off Cape Cod, still being excavated. Black beads, European pipes, native tools. Mixed crew. Bellamy's words, they rob the poor under cover of law, we plunder the rich under the protection of our own courage. Treasure issue, mostly legend. Only William Kidd's buried treasure is known, he got caught anyway. Most spend the money immediately, in taverns, with prostitutes, on clothes. A piece of 8 is almost equal to $20 to $30 today. A good raid brings millions but it runs out quickly. Legends, the Arrr accent. 1950s Disney movie fabrication. Walking the plank. Daniel Defoe's book fabrication. Parrot, rare, exotic pet. But the fear factor is real. Black flag, red flag, no quarter, fused beard, torture, fuse between fingers, sweating, ear cutting. In the end these guys rejected the system. In the Navy there was the whip, low wages, forced conscription. In piracy there was freedom, equality, adventure. It was short-lived but left a deep mark.